Hello students, very good evening to one and all. On behalf of ACE Engineering Academy, I am welcoming all of you for this preparation strategy on database management system. And myself, Ramesh Masuna. Today I am going to discuss database management system and its preparation strategy. And you know that ACE is established in 1995 and it is now ACE Online and it is powered by ACE Engineering Academy. So now I am welcoming all of you on behalf of ACE Online and ACE Engineering Academy. Chalo, now we will discuss how to prepare for database management system and what are the important concepts, what is the strategy you need to follow for preparation of database management system. Very first, I would like to start with the weightage analysis. If you know the weightage, then you can decide what topics are important, where to focus, and all I'm going to discuss. And in GATE, we have CSE separate paper, IT separate paper in 2003 to 2008, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these years, we have GATE CSE separate paper, GATE IT separate paper. I have all questions, I have divided how many questions asked in CSE paper and how many questions asked in IT paper. Now, we look at what are the syllabus. Syllabus is having a first topic, ER models and relational models. In ER and relational models, so far means including GATE 2022. So far, we have 15 questions in ER and relational models in CS paper and 2 questions in IT paper. Okay, IT paper is there only few years. Now it is only CSC paper. Now we call it CSIT paper. And functional dependencies and normalization is the second topic. In that, you got 28 questions so far in the past 2021 years papers. Means this analysis is from 2000 to 2022, like totally 22, 23 years papers I have analyzed. And these are the set of questions. And in relational algebra and calculus, it is 27 questions. And see, relational algebra and calculus is a very small topic, but see, it had equal importance like functional dependency and normalization. Actually, functional dependency and normalization will have so many topics, right? And the time it takes to prepare for functional dependency and normalization is more. But algebra and calculus is something around 2 + 1, 3 hours of a session. In 3 hours of a session lecture, if you understand and do practice properly, you will able to answer all the questions of algebra and calculus. See how many questions asked, 27 questions in CSE, 5 questions in IT. And then we have query language, SQL, damn sure, undoubtedly, query language is very, very important. So far in the previous 20 years papers, you got 30 questions. 30 questions means an average 1.5 question in every year. Means most of the times it is 2 questions. In the worst case only it is 1 question. And that 1 question is also 2 marks question, most of the times. And SQL is damn sure it is very, very important. And then transaction and concurrency control, we have 23 questions. And then IT paper, 4 questions. Then recovery system, so far it is given only 3 questions, one in 2007, one in 2015 and one in 2021, like 3 questions. In IT paper there is no question on recovery system, but recovery system is also important. Why? Because if any question comes in the recovery system, you should be in a position to answer it. Because remaining people may not answer, you are going to answer, that makes a difference. And we have indexing chapter last, and indexing chapter we have 21 questions. In CS paper, IT 4 questions. Now look, total of 146 questions in CS, like when you see past 20 to 21 years of papers, 146 questions in CS and 28 questions in IT, totally 174 questions are there. If you see ACE previous year booklet, you can find all these 174 questions and its detailed solutions. And solving all the PYQs is very, very important. Why? Because 95% of the paper is from the tapped area and 5% is untapped area. So if you solve all these PYQs, you are ready for 95% of the paper. Suppose if I am talking about DBMS only, if you solve all the questions of the PYQs, all PYQs of CSE and IT, it's totally 174 questions. You are ready for all questions of DBMS that are going to ask in the GATE examination. Right. So worst case, there is a possibility that that untapped area question comes from the DBMS. That is a worst case possibility. Right now, that's what I'm telling you. If you prepare for PYQs, that kind of questions only possible to ask in the coming GATE examinations. So I recommend every one of you not to ignore PYQs, solve PYQs at least 2 times. I'm telling you at least 2 times, not just 2 times, at least 2 times. If possible, you make it 2, 3, 4 number of times until you get a confidence on it. If you get a confidence on it, means by looking that PYQ, you should directly give an answer. Right? It is not that you have to remember the answers and options. You should remember the concepts and all. Okay. Now, coming to these topics and these analysis, what we understood, damn sure SQL is important. Damn sure SQL is important, undoubtedly. Next priority will be given for the normalization, functional dependency and normalization. And next, this is the first preference, this is the second preference, and the third preference is algebra and calculus. And then the next preferences will be on transactions and concurrency controls. And next preference will be on indexing. And the next preference will be on ER and relational models. And last preference will be given to recovery system. Why? Because it is only 3 questions asked so far. In IT paper, no question asked. So this is the order of preferences, but you don't study the subject in this order of preferences. While studying, you study in the approach, like in the sequence you study it, so that you will have an idea that how customer requirements are going to be converted into entity relationship model, how that is converted into relational models, what problems are possible in the relational models due to functional dependencies, how to minimize the problems, normalization, how to retrieve data from the database, algebra and calculus, how syntactically it is to be represented using a query languages, and how transactions are executed in a system, and what problems are there, how to minimize the problems. And if a failure occurs, information loss is possible, how it can be recovered it, how efficiently we retrieve data from the database. This is a sequence. We have to follow the sequence while studying the subject. Once you studied the subject, what I recommend you is you prepare the subject in the sequence so that you will have an idea what is happening in a design, implementation and maintenance of a database system. That is required. You study in the sequence. Once you study in the sequence, repeat one more time. Once, twice and thrice you repeat in the same sequence. Once your sequence is completed, you can jumble the topics. Why I am telling you jumbling the topics means, if you jumble the topics, then you can training your brain such a way that any question comes in a different sequence, you can able to solve it. Suppose I am preparing today functional dependency and normalization. So I can able to solve all the questions related to that. But if a question suddenly given in the middle, like from some topic of indexing, I may not able to solve. You may not able to solve. So means you should train your brain such a way that it should be jumbled. So that is possible by solving the questions. Okay, this is the weightage analysis of each each topic in the database management system, DBMS. Right, so what I suggest you is first read the notes, like faculty notes, that is my notes. You read first faculty notes and prepare in the same flow and read and practice every question once, twice and thrice. Once it is completed, then go for PYQs, solve PYQs, and solving PYQs at least for 2 times is compulsory, at least for 2 times, right? Okay. Now, what I wanted to tell you is, when you are preparing for GATE examination, what you are supposed to give, you are supposed to give your best. It is not that you have to get Air 1. Suppose everyone aiming for Air 1, is everyone will get Air 1? No, na. So Air 1 will be only 1 student. Remaining will be Air 2, 3, 4 and some rank will be there. So what I suggest you is you give your best. You give your best. That's it. And never give up. So here, just one thing I wanted to tell you. If you give your best, don't take rest. You give your best, then take a rest. When it is meaning that you give your best, if you able to solve all the questions that are faculty solved in the classroom, that all the questions of PYQs, if any question of test series is that you are able to solve, it is meaning that you are giving the best. If you give your best and write the GATE examination, you get the best results, then you take the rest. Until that, there is no rest. Okay, so give your best, then take rest. Now we'll go into the topic wise. Because we have 7 topics in DBMS, that ER, relational models, functional dependency, normalization, then algebra calculus, then we have SQL, transactions, concurrency, recovery, and indexing. We'll talk about each topic in a detailed way, what topics are important in that particular chapter, what topics are important, where to focus, where questions are asked, that I am going to discuss. So let us start with ER and relational models. In ER and relational models, very few questions, hardly 1 or 2 theoretical questions you can see. Some 1 or 2 theoretical questions were asked in ER models, and those are theoretical questions on ER models. Right, theoretical questions on ER models. Here, 1 or 2 theoretical questions asked, and most of the questions are on relational models and conversion of ER to relational models. When I am talking about relational models, what kind of questions asked in the relational models? The questions asked mostly on the constraints, we call key constraints. What are the key constraints? We have primary key constraints, right? Primary key constraints, candidate key, super key constraints, that classifications, that kind of questions are possible to ask and asked. And second thing, you can see when the PYQs, if you see PYQs, the most of the questions are on foreign key constraints. Foreign key constraints. And how questions were asked? Foreign key constraints on on delete cascade, on delete set null, right? On update cascade, on these conditions. Means generally foreign key is used to show relation between 2 tables, but questions are asked on the special conditions on foreign key, that is on delete cascade conditions and on delete set null conditions, right? On this questions were asked. Suppose if A is a primary key and C is a foreign key referring to A, suppose we have some tuples, if I deleted 2, 3, what are the other tuples that is to be deleted and how many tuples after deletion of all the tuples when you delete tuple 2, 3. Suppose when you delete 2, 3, 2 is deleted in the primary key, so it requires to check 2 in the foreign key. Suppose in the 2 in the foreign key is 5, 2 and something like 7, 2. So what it requires for 2, 3, these 2 are the child tuples and these also to be deleted if C is having, C is a foreign key having a condition on delete cascade. On delete cascade condition, something around 2 to 3 questions are asked, so it is important. Okay, and coming to the ER models. Some theoretical questions asked, like 1 or 2 theoretical questions are asked, like what is a notation of an attribute of a weak entity set. Attribute of a weak entity set will have no key attributes, and one of the weak entity set attribute will be used as a partial key. Like notation asked, what is the notation of partial key? Attribute with dot and underline. Sometimes it is asked what is the attribute of a relationship, something like this. Notations are asked. 1 or 2 questions hardly you can see in the previous year. And once one question asked on the constraints, like a key constraints which is represented with arrow and total participation which is represented with a double line. On that one theoretical question asked. And majority of the questions are on conversions, ER model to relational model conversion. On conversions, the questions are asked, conversions. Like some model is given, some E1, relationship, E2, and having some attributes, E1 having some attribute A and B, and E2 having some attribute C and D, and E, suppose E is a multi-valued attributes, and some cardinality is going to be given like 1 to many or many to 1. So if we convert this model into relational model, how many number of tables possible in the relational model? That kind of questions asked. How to do this? We have to have key constraints on the model. Now you know it in 1 to many key cardinality, key constraint is possible from many side. When key constraint is possible from many side, and it requires to merge this relationship to the entity set. You have to merge it. If you merge it, this could be one table, and this merging is completely one table. But again, a point, this is having multi-valued attributes. When multi-valued attributes, this is to be represented with two tables. So totally how many tables possible? 3 tables are possible. So most of the times questions are on conversions, conversion of ER model to relational models. Okay, these are the kind of questions asked from the topic of ER and relational models. What are the questions? Look, relational models and key constraints and foreign key constraints. On these questions are asked. And when it comes to the ER and relational models, on conversions, most of the questions are asked in the chapter. So practice questions on foreign key constraints, practice questions on ER model and relational models, you can practice it. Okay. And moreover, while I'm taking this session, if you have any doubts, you can put in the chat box. I can read your doubts, I can clarify you during the live session. Okay. Right. Next, we'll go for the second chapter. In the second chapter, we have functional dependencies and normalization. So in functional dependencies and normalization, we have understood what problems are possible with a redundancy. That is called repeated storage of the data. Repeated storage of the data possible if customer had a requirement. If customer had a requirement, according to the requirement of a customer, we have to duplicate the data. That customer requirement is called one functional dependency. If functional dependency is there, we have a redundancy problems are possible. So what problems are possible? Insertion, updation, deletion problems are possible. We have to minimize it. That process is called normalization. On functional dependency and normalization, what kind of questions are asked and what is possible to ask? First category is verification of dependencies. On these questions are asked, verification of functional dependencies. So means some relation is given and some set of dependencies are given. Options are, like question is, which of the following dependencies are satisfied over the relation? Or which of the following dependencies not satisfied over the relation? That kind of questions asked. Okay, this is first case. And second case is, they are giving a relation with some dependencies and asked to find which of the following additional dependency possible over the relation. Even when you see GATE 2021 paper, one MSQ is there, multiple selection question, where one relation with the dependencies are given and asked which of the following dependencies are satisfied. So more than one dependency is satisfied. How to find additional dependencies? Suppose if I want to find X to Y dependency possible or not. How it is to be verified? We have to check with X closure, and if closure of X contains Y, we can call X to Y dependencies possible, right? So that it requires to know whether the particular dependency is possible or not, that is by finding the closures. On additional dependencies also questions are asked. And next is, so far questions not asked on equality, equivalence on sets of functional dependencies. Means if two sets of dependencies are given, we have to find whether the two sets of dependencies are equal or not. And option could be like, suppose if two dependencies are F set and G set. So options are like F covers G only, G covers F only, F and G are equal, and like F and G are not equal. Some kind of options are possible. So in ACE volume 1, we have some questions like what are the possibility of asking a question that we have included. Like there are two sets of dependencies, and question is if two dependency sets are not equal because of so and so. Like options are that A to B dependency not making that two sets are not equal. Such kind of options are possible to be framed. So far on equivalence no question asked, but this time possible to ask question on equality. Why I'm telling you now? Because when you see the past 2 to 3 years of papers, like especially from 2021, 22, the number of untabbed area questions are increasing. So why? Because Suppose it is a challenge to the person who is preparing the question, because always they are thinking that the same kind of question they don't want to give. Like maybe it is the same kind of question, but way of asking they are trying to change it. That difference you can see in 20, 21, 22 papers. The difference you can see. That's why definitely in 23 gate examination, you can see a difference in the paper sitting. 100% I'm telling you, difference you can see, more difference you can see in the paper sitting. And I can definitely expect more untapped area questions are possible. This time I'm recommending every one of you focus on untapped areas also, along with the tapped areas. Okay, that is on equivalence, no question asked, but possibility is there, just go for it and practice it. Then minimal set. So far minimal set also only one question asked. That is, some set of dependencies are given, which of the following is minimal sets of dependencies. But way of asking on a minimal set, they may be changed it. Right, maybe one functional dependencies have more than one minimal sets. So it is possible to ask instead of MCQ, now it is possible to ask as an MSQ. Focus on that, okay? And fourth one, which is damn sure important, finding the keys of a relation. Like they have asked number of candidate keys, super keys, like that kind of questions. Damn sure it is important, and still there is a scope of asking, and in the previous gate many times questions are asked on keys. And fifth important topic is properties of decomposition. Properties of decomposition. What are the properties of decomposition? Lossless join and lossless join, dependency preservation are the properties of decomposition. Properties of decomposition. So far, when you look for previous gate questions, questions are given on lossless property. Questions are given on lossless property. And one question is there on dependency preservation. But this time you can expect a question instead of on just lossless, they may give you question on just dependency preservation. Scope is there, okay? And the next important is normal forms. And previously questions on normal forms are they are giving a relation with attributes and dependencies and ask you to find what normal form the given relation is. That kind of questions are asked. And most of the times it is direct. Sometimes instead of giving A, B, C, D, E, they are giving some real-time examples like taken some banking system, customer ID, customer name, customer transaction, something like this. Some real world scenario is taken, on that they are giving some dependencies and ask you to find normal form. That kind of questions used to ask till 2015-16. But in 2017 onwards, when you see normal forms questions, it is slightly different. Question is normal form only, but way of asking is different. In 2017, one question asked, the relation with some dependencies are given, and given that if the relation is redesigned into set of tables, like decomposed into set of tables and redesigned, what normal form the new database satisfies, old database does not satisfies. So my point of telling you is, way of answering the question is same, but way of asking question definitely you can expect differently on normal forms, because many of the questions are asked already. So it is, the topic is diluted. Now questioning definitely could be different. This is you can expect on functional dependence and normalization in the normal forms. So, and one more important, so far no questions are given on decomposition on normal forms. Means if we decompose a relation into next higher normal form, like let us say 3 normal form or BCNF, what are the decomposed relations? That question is not given. Here is a scope is there for asking questions, this time on decomposition. And these are the topics important, and focus on that, right? And focus on untapped area questions also, so it will be helpful. This is coming to the next chapter. Now, next chapter is algebra and calculus. Damn sure it is important, and in algebra and calculus, very few topics are there. Like we have a basic operators. We have basic operators like projection, selection, right? Cartesian product, join operations. But when you see the previous gate questions, majority of the questions are on joins. They are giving a schema or else they are giving tables relation along with a table of data, and an expression is given and asked you to evaluate the expression and find the output of it. And we know that algebra eliminates the duplicates, that also playing some important role in the options also, right. So most of the questions are on joints, and we have discussed in our classroom and live lectures and pre-recorded lectures some important questions asked on joints. Especially they have asked about minimum number of rows, maximum number of rows. When you join two relations, what you can see, the minimum number of tuples, that is 0, you can expect it. So means a parent-child relationship is there, but nowhere child contains no tuples of child, means foreign key value all contains null values. If all contains null values, then mapping may not give you any results, correct now? So mapping will not give you any output because foreign key all contains null, minimum is possibility is 0. Suppose if foreign key is part of primary key, you can expect number of tuples are equals to number of tuples in the child table. When if the foreign key in the child table is part of primary key. This point is important because on this point some questions are asked, and maximum possibility is always number of tuples in the child, or else it is a Cartesian product of tuples. When Cartesian product is possible, if no common attribute. On this point some questions are asked, and some questions you can see like this, like they are given some schema, and some relational interpretations. Like in most of the questions, it is a confusing kind of statements. To avoid the confusion, what I suggest you now, you can take some sample data, and this data you have to take according to the options. Data you have to take according to options. According to options, you take data and evaluate the query and get a proper interpretation of it. Give a proper interpretation of it. That is important. And what I suggest you now, you practice more questions of this kind, where it requires more analysis, analyze it and try to prepare some sample data based on the options given and try to interpret it. This practice you do before you go for the examination. If you do now, so in the examination it will become easy, otherwise it will become tough. Algebra is a small topic only, but very good questions are asked. And important thing is division operator. Questions were asked on division operator, this is also important. Now what is a division operator? Suppose if we perform xy divided with y, what it will give you? X for all y's. So if you understand this division, and questions are given on division operator, like schema is given, or tables or tuples with tuples are given, algebra expression is given and asked for the interpretation. Sometimes it is given for the output computation. This is asked. And next, calculus. In the relational calculus. In relational calculus, there are very few questions asked, but asked, it is important, but asked. If a question asked, you should be in a position to answer it. So relational calculus, and whatever the questions you see in the previous gate, most of the questions are on TRC, tuple relational calculus, instead of on DRC. Hardly you may find 1 or 2 questions on DRC, but majority questions are on TRC, tuple relational calculus. Most of the questions are on tuple relational calculus. Here, because calculus is, the expression in calculus is more close to the expression in the predicate calculus. That predicates and all you might have studied in discrete mathematics. And in discrete mathematics, knowledge a little bit is required in answering most of the questions of relational calculus in the previous gate. Why? Because the expression in calculus, relational calculus, is more close to the expression in the predicate calculus, like we have there exist, for all, conjunction, disjunction, like conjunction, disjunction, we have, and negation, these are all the operators are there. So to understand the conversion process, like simplified process, like in mathematical logic, you might have studied the simplification of mathematical expressions. That simplification you can apply in the relational calculus expressions, so that analysis and interpretation is easy. So what I suggest you is, to answer the questions of relational calculus, I recommend you first you practice the subject of discrete mathematics. If you are confident with DMaths, in the DMaths also I am specifically, if I want to talk about math logic. If you are confident in the math logic and especially in the conversion rules, you can easily solve the questions of relational calculus. I recommend you, before you start calculus and solving the questions, I recommend you solve the questions of DMaths and especially mathematical logic topic you revise once and solve the questions of mathematical logic. Then I recommend you to continue with calculus topic. Okay, right. This is about algebra and calculus. Just let me see any questions from any people. Okay, I think there is no questions. Okay, Konika Arora, good evening. Akshay, hello. Akshay, we want single subject DBMS. Is there any such option? Please help. Okay, Akshay, you want single subject DBMS. Is it in Hindi or English? Akshay? And we are launching a single subject in Hindi. Hindi, you have an options, but on English, we are not giving an options to the students. Suppose you are interested on having lectures on Hindi, as I think you might know that ACE launched GATE lectures in Hindi language. We are the faculty taught all the GATE concepts, like all the subjects and all the concepts in simple Hindi language so that you can understand easily, Akshay. And if you are interested, and you can go with that single subject courses in Hindi. And I am the faculty who taught DBMS and compilers in both the subjects in Hindi. And you want to learn from me, Akshay, it is good, so you can have it. Okay, Akshay, is it okay? Right. Chalo. We'll come back again with the live chat. If you have any doubts or any questions or you want to ask me anything, just put in the live chat. I can read this live chat and I can answer you in the live session itself. Okay. Yeah. We'll go ahead with the next chapter, structured query language in SQL. So SQL is an ocean and majority of the questions asked from the SQL. And in SQL, especially when you are preparing, you be confident with the basics. This is important. Without the basics, you cannot start answering questions of the complex queries. In the basics, you should have a knowledge about aggregate functions. Aggregate functions. You should have knowledge about the operators that we use for writing the conditions, like in operator, not in, is null, between and like operators, the operators that we can write. Aggregate functions. And also you required to have a knowledge about order by class and some set manipulation operators. Because many of the complex questions, these basic concepts are used. Set manipulation operators, some basic concepts are used, okay? You need to have a knowledge on these basics, then you can be able to solve the complex queries. And majority of the questions given in the query languages are subqueries. And some of the questions are given on the group by and having class. This is also important topic. And in group by having, I have seen set on questions in the previous gate. If you know the point that the number of tuples in the output of a group by query is equals to the number of groups that are selected. If you know the point, there were two questions in 2 consecutive years are given, that is 2015 and 2016. In 2 consecutive years, this is a group by query given and asked to find how many rows in the output of the query. So if you know the point that the number of tuples in the output is equals to number of groups selected, if you know the point, you can directly answer it. So sometimes even the minute point is also playing an important role. And questions are possible on the joins and the subqueries. And mostly you can expect questions on subqueries. It is called nested queries and correlated queries. Nested query, correlated query. In nested query, inner query is independent In correlated query, inner and outer is depending on each other. And we have a questions, you can expect questions on exists class. And in 2018 GATE, a new concept is introduced, with class. In 2005, a question asked on unique class. This is on IT paper. This time you can expect on this unique class. So in solving the SQL, maybe you find difficulties, but what I suggest you now in solving the SQL questions, I recommend you solve the questions with data. First, you are confident enough with the data, you can directly answer it. Means directly you can able to interpret the query by looking into it. To get a confidence, I suggest you, if any tables of data given, you evaluate the query and get the outputs. Suppose if no tables of data given, you have to prepare some tables of data to get a confidence on that particular interpretation. This one you do now while preparing, so that in the examination you don't find much difficulty. This is recommended. In many students with whom I have interacted, they have told, sir, when you are teaching SQL, we are happy, but when we are practicing the questions, we are finding difficulty. Finding difficulty, this is of lack of practice. So what I suggest you now, you let it take, when you are solving the question, let it take 30 minutes of time for one question, but if you solve now, you will get a lot of confidence. And that 30 minutes time definitely is going to be reduced when you are going to solve the next question. After you solve 20 questions, by analyzing the complete query, by taking the sample data, evaluate and answer it, then at 21 question, to solve at 21 question, then you may take hardly 1 or 2 minutes of time, because you are going to habituate and you are going to analyze any query in a simpler format. So that's what SQL is, requires a lot of practice and a lot of analysis, and please do that while answering the questions of SQL. Next, coming to the transactions and concurrency control. In the entire transactions and concurrency controls, I can tell you very important topic is conflict serializability. Because so many questions in the previous year are based on the topic of conflict serializability. How to answer the questions of conflict serializability? You have to construct a precedence graph and decide whether the schedule is conflict serializable or not. And if it is a conflict serializable, perform a topological sort and then decide what it is equivalent to which serial schedule. That you can find in the conflict serializability. And some of the questions are asked when you see the past 2-3 years of papers. Instead of serializability, they are asked about equality. When we can call two schedules are equivalent, if all the conflicts in both the schedules are same. So that conflict verification is required. That kind of question is asked in the previous GATE. So no doubt in the entire chapter of transaction management and concurrency control, majority of the questions so far asked on conflict serializability, conflict equality, that questions only. But very few questions are asked on recoverability topic. And there are few questions asked on locking protocols. And mostly this is about two-phase locking protocols, 2PL protocols, few questions. And its modification of 2PL we can call strict and rigorous 2PL. Strict 2PL, rigorous 2PL. On that some questions are asked, rigorous 2PL. And these are the topics from where questions are asked in the previous year. But still there is a scope of asking questions on number of concurrent schedules and number of concurrent schedules that are conflict equivalent to serial schedules. This kind of question, number of concurrent schedules possible over T1 and T2 two transactions that are conflict serializable asked. In 2017 it is asked. Later it is not asked, but there is a scope of asking this time because numerical type of questions are increasing every year. And on the locking protocols, questions are asked on 2PL and strict 2PL and rigorous 2PL. And some 1 or 2 questions you can see on timestamp based protocols. Asked. But there is a lot of scope is there for asking untapped area questions on transaction management and concurrency control. Why? Because on problems due to concurrent schedules, okay, problems due to concurrence, problems due to concurrency, concurrency problems, on concurrency problems question not asked, right? And questions are asked on recoverability. On cascading rollbacks, questions are not asked. Cascading rollbacks. There is a scope, lot of scope is there, and strict schedule, there is a scope of asking questions. And there is a scope of asking questions on view serializability. So far not asked, but there is a scope of asking questions on view serializability. And coming to the concurrency control, questions are asked on log-based protocols. But on this log-based protocols also 2PL strict and rigorous 2PL questions were asked. There is a scope of asking questions on multiple granularity locking. And some questions, one or two theoretical questions only asked on deadlock handling. So there is a scope of asking questions this time on deadlock handling. In deadlock handling, we have a prevention and detection and recovery. On that questions are possible to ask. So these are the various topics from where you can expect untapped area questions. That is also important. So please focus on these transactions and concurrency control, because majority of the questions this time is going to come is untapped area. That untapped areas you focus on it, because you have to create some difference between others and you. That is important. Okay. This is the topic of transaction management and concurrency control. Let me see any doubts from any of the students. Here AB de Villiers, okay, AB de Villiers again coming back, so he is tracking again. Hello sir, good evening AB de Villiers. Sir, can I take GATE CSE handbook, how much cost? It's around, okay, I think AB de Villiers, you might have seen that ad of GATE handbook, CSE handbook. I recommend you can have that handbook. It is available in aceengineeringpublications.com, Amazon and Flipkart. And that handbook is original price is 400 rupees. In Amazon and Flipkart, some offer is going. You can purchase it immediately, handbook. And moreover, that handbook is useful for you, definitely I can say you. It is useful for you because in handbook consisting of short notes, formulas, some little examples, and some interview questions also. So that in the last minute preparation, that handbook definitely I feel it is useful for you. And whenever you are traveling, right, or suppose you are going to somewhere where you cannot carry all the books, in such cases, handbook will be useful. Means if you go somewhere, better you can have that handbook, prepare it fastly, quick revision will be done. So that is very important. Okay, so handbook definitely helpful for you. You purchase in Amazon or Flipkart or aceengineeringpublications.com. You can go ahead in Amazon and Flipkart, some coupons are available, so you can purchase it with a lesser cost. Okay, chalo, it is helpful. Done. That's about AB de Villiers, right? Next, we have to talk about recovery system, and one more thing, recovery system is also important. And so far only 3 questions are asked, one in 2007, 15 and 21. In that 2 questions are 1 mark and 1 question is of 2 marks, but no questions are asked. But still there is a scope of asking questions on recovery system. But in recovery system, how a database system is going to recover from the failure is a major concept. What one question asked on log-based recovery. In log-based recovery, we have 2 techniques: deferred database modification, immediate database modification, and that is a beautiful concept. Hope you can definitely enjoy the topic. So what I'm trying to tell you is, you just focus on that topic also, how recovery is going to be done. And especially I recommend you just go for the log-based recovery and checkpointing techniques. Questions are possible on log-based recovery and checkpointing. If you want any practice questions, what I suggest you, I suggest you the questions from NPTEL source. Question from NPTEL source. And moreover, I thought of telling to you this because NPTEL, in NPTEL, the DBMS lectures are taken by the IIT professors, and NPTEL lectures are from IIT, and top IISc professors, NIT professors are taking the lectures of NPTEL, and NPTEL assignments are important. If you look for the NPTEL assignments, and most of the questions, I cannot say that all the questions, and most of the questions are up to GATE standard. Like it is not too tough, it is not too easy. Majority questions, like most of the questions I am telling you, and some of the questions are very easy, directly theoretical questions, but theoretical questions are also asking. So I suggest you, go for the NPTEL lectures, like in swayam.gov.in, swayam.gov.in. This is a website. You go to website and look for that NPTEL subjects, and registering that NPTEL subjects is free of cost. So what I suggest you is you first register, and don't go like whether you want to go for certification or don't want to go for certification, that is up to you. But if you register for a course, you can get some question bank from the professors of IIT who are going to prepare the question papers for the GATE examination. So if possible, you can do for all the GATE subjects. So why? Because you can expect similar kind of questions. I have some examples actually. I have some examples where I found some question in the NPTEL question bank, and similar questions I have seen in the GATE paper. There are some proofs also. Tomorrow when we are going to talk about important concepts in DBMS, I'm going to show you that. That's what I'm telling you. You can collect that question bank, and that question bank will be useful, and practice the questions from the NPTEL source. You can get very good number of questions for the recovery system from the source of NPTEL. Just go to website, and it is a free of cost. You can register, and if you want to go for certification, you can go for it, and that will be added benefit for your career. If you don't want, just ignore, but you can get the question bank. Like suppose you go for 8-week course or 12-week course, every week you will get 10 questions. 8-week course means 80 questions, 12-week questions, 12-week course means 120 questions you are able to collect it. So that questions will be helpful for you in preparation of good questions in the GATE examination, because those are the questions prepared by IIT professors. So this is a thing that I want to discuss on the recovery systems. And last but not the least, indexing. Index is also important. But in indexing, when you look for the previous papers, there are 1 or 2 questions asked on multi-level index. And multi-level index is going to be implemented on the single level index, and single level we have a primary, clustered, secondary index are there. On that single level index, you have to create multi-level index. The questions will be like how many block accesses are possible, like how many index blocks in the top level, how many index blocks in the bottom level, how many index blocks in the first and second level. That kind of questions were asked. Okay, there are 2-3 questions you can see on multi-level index, but majority of the questions are on B tree and B plus tree. This is important. And even if you ask me, sir, in B tree and B plus tree, which is more important, I can definitely say B plus tree is more important. Majority of the questions asked on B plus tree. Now look at in B tree and B plus tree, the common type of questions asked is on orders, order of B tree and order of B plus tree leaf node and internal node. In B tree, order, how do you calculate? Based on the structure you remember. If you remember the structure of a B tree, based on the structure you can write a formula and apply the values, you can get the you can get to know the order of B tree. What a B tree contains? B tree contains n pointers, n minus 1 index records. Index record is nothing but one key and record pointer pairs together. And when I talk about a B plus tree leaf node, B plus tree leaf node containing n index records, means n key plus record pointers and one block pointer we called P next. This information you remember. In B plus tree internal node, what internal node contains? Internal node contains n pointers and n minus 1 keys. If you remember this information now, directly you can write a formula then and there and apply the values, you can able to find the orders, because majority of the questions are on orders. On order it is asked. And so far, I do remember only one question asked on B plus tree insertion. And in 2007 IT paper, a 2 plus 2, 4 marks question asked on insertion and deletion of B plus tree, not B tree also. But a lot of scope is there for asking questions on B plus tree insertion and deletion, because previously before 2015, this is MCQs only. When it is MCQs, asking question a bit difficult, but when it is NAT and MSQs, asking question is more possible, right? Means more scope is there for asking questions. Like after you insert so and so keys in a B plus tree or B tree of order 3, 4, 5, some order, how many nodes in the leaf level, how many total number of nodes, when you are inserting some key values, how many number of times leaf node is going to be splitted, internal node splitted, root node splitted, how many nodes are 100% full. Like framing question is possible on insertion and deletion. Like they may give some tree, and if you insert some keys, like following keys, what is the resultant tree? If you delete some keys, what is the resultant tree? That kind of questions are possible to ask. So far, 3 questions totally on B plus tree insertion and deletion, means on insertion 2 questions or deletion 1 question. But still there is a scope on construction of a B plus tree insertion and deletion of a key values from the B plus tree and B trees. This is important topics, and untapped areas or else expecting topics from insertion and deletions. Okay, these are the important topics and concepts from where questions were asked and where to focus that we have discussed. Now before that, let me check any doubts from the students. A.B. de Villiers, thank you very much, sir. How it's important of B and B plus tree indexing in DBMS. Okay, in DBMS it is for indexing, for faster searches. It requires to use B and B plus tree indexing, and B tree is especially used for random access. In B plus tree it is especially used for range searches and random access, both possible. Okay, de Villiers, if one class you will complete full DBMS concepts. Okay. Yeah, I covered in one class. One class means this one session I have to cover all this. Just I covered it. Okay, and questions on number of levels. Okay, orders and Srividya noun law. F, what is that F? Noun Srividya? Just what I don't know what she is telling. So if anything, feel free, you can ask me in the chat box. And okay, that's about the students' doubts. Still, if you have anything, please let me know. I can read this chat box. I can help you in this regard. Next, here, maybe you are thinking that, sir, is it possible to crack GATE in first attempt? So definitely I can say it is possible. Only one thing, you need to have a strong determination, right? If you have a strong zeal that you have to crack GATE examination. If you have a strong zeal, automatically you work hard and you can put your efforts so that you can able to crack the GATE easily. And having only determination is not sufficient. You need to have a strategy, you need to plan, you need to have a plan. That plan, strategy, we are anyhow teaching in the classes, like in live sessions, recorded sessions and offline classes, and put your plan in a action so that you can definitely crack the GATE in your first attempt. And what I suggest you for the approach for GATE is, first you read the concepts from the notes of a faculty. Like when I'm talking about DBMS, you read my notes first, and then you prepare some short notes, like anyhow short notes that are available in GATE handbook of ACE Academy. But what I suggest you is you prepare short notes. Suppose if you prepare now, you can find the happiness, real happiness. So important formulas and short notes, and practice these formulas minimum 5 to 6 times. You can just practice at least for 5 times. Repeatedly you just revise it. And then you just solve all the questions that a faculty, from the faculty notes. Because during the sessions, we give What are the possible questions, what are the practice questions, what are the expected questions, what questions are asked, that all we have discussed. That questions you practice it, okay, from the faculty notes. I am telling you practice it means use paper and pen and write it and solve it. And then it is important, solve PYQs, solve PYQs. As I told you, 95% of the paper from the PYQs, only 5% untapped area. But untapped area is increasing year by year, but at least even if 10% untapped area, 90% tapped. So solving PYQs is mandatory. And then revise the notes and write subject-wise tests, means subject-wise grand tests. ACE test series is having subject-wise grand tests. After completing the revision of the subject, you write one complete subject-wise grand test and so that you can self-evaluate it. What I'm trying to tell you is you self-evaluate it, where you are lagging. So focus on that topics, revise the topics and prepare it. And more importantly, write full length mock tests, especially after November you do it. You do it from November onwards. Because from November onwards, seriousness should come, especially. But it is not that you should be loose now. You should be serious always. But more seriousness you have to show from the November onwards. Means by November you complete all the revisions, practice questions and all. But you start giving full length mock test from the November. So if you give full length mock test, your brain will be trained in such a way that your brain will switch between the subjects, between the concepts. So when you are writing the examination, you don't find any difficulty. Otherwise, suddenly if you see a question from TOC, then immediately DBMS, then it computer networks, then comparison, like you may get confused. In the fastly you may not recollect the concepts. That is possible only by writing the mock tests. If you write more the mock tests, so you can fastly recollect the concepts. And as you know that ACE test series giving the full length mock tests and write as many mock tests as possible. And you know the cutoff marks for the GATE examination, when I am talking about computer science, the cutoff marks for general paper is 25. And see, highest marks for computer science this year is 81 marks only. 81 marks only. See, why I am telling you, previously in 2021 86 marks, now in 2022 cutoffs it is 81 marks. What you understand, Air 1 got 86 in 2021 paper, 81 in 2022 paper, means the complexity, toughness is increasing. Number of NETs are increasing, number of MSQs are increasing, number of untapped area questions are increasing. So that level of GATE is in the next level. Definitely you can expect GATE 2023 will be the next level paper. I am not afraiding you, so I am telling you the truth. Okay, that's what you have to prepare well. And one-stop solution of ACE Academy. So we have a pre-recorded lectures, we have exclusive live classes, offline classes. And one important thing, suppose you are not an ACE student and you want to prepare GATE examination in a short period of time, exclusively for us means for computer science people, we have launched in the deep learn platform like ACE Online now, it is ACE Online. In ACE Online, we have a quick revision course and we are giving a 4 months package. If you want to prepare it completely in 4 months, so it is a very good idea. You can go for quick revision course. So fastly you can prepare it and complete it, and this will be consisting of more number of hours, best things you can get in the quick revision course. And one important thing, because it is not known to many students, but I wanted to tell you in this stage, we have launched GATE and ISRO previous year questions, and all the previous year questions we have launched as one module in the ACE Online platform, pre-recorded lectures. We have recorded all the previous year GATE questions and ISRO questions in a subject wise and topic wise. Let us say in normalization, questions on functional dependencies, questions on additional dependencies, question on minimal sets, questions on normal forms, questions on properties of decomposition. Likewise, we have segregated it so that your preparation will become very easy, and the price for this GATE plus ISRO PYQs is very nominal price. If you purchase any PYQs booklet, it may be costing about around 1000 plus rupees. Now in 1000 plus rupees, you can see only the questions with some explanation of the text. But the same explanation, if faculty gives, then that difference is definitely different. So that we have done exclusively for CSE. So for you people, it is a great opportunity. So I'm not marketing, but I'm telling you the fact this is available. So if you are interested, you can go for this so that your preparation become definitely boosted up. As I told you, 95% of the paper is tapped. Only 5% is untapped. Even this time, if it is increased, it cannot be completely reversed now. 95% untapped, 5% tapped is not possible. So this time maybe 90% tapped, 10% untapped. If you solve all PYQs, means solving all PYQs, we have many websites. But in many websites, they have given some explanation, but that explanation may be understood, may not be understood, because no person is there to explain you. But we are explaining with a detailed solution, means what background concept is required for the question, and how question is to be handled, how question is to be tackled, that we are explaining, so that definitely this module will be helpful for you. And we have a GATE Hindi courses also. Suppose आप कोई भी नॉर्थ इंडियन बच्चा है, लाइक नॉर्थ इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स है, आपको लाइक हिंदी में लेक्चर्स पढ़ाई करें तो आसानी से समझ में आएगा आप लोगों को. इसलिए हम इस एकेडमी ने लॉन्च किया है गेट हिंदी कोर्सेज, सिंगल सब्जेक्ट्स भी अवेलेबल है. अगर आपको कुछ प्रॉब्लम है लाइक इंग्लिश में पढ़ने का, नहीं तो जल्दी में समझने, जल्दी में आपको अंडरस्टैंड करने के लिए कोर्स चाहिए, आप बेटर हिंदी कोर्सेज लीजिए, राइट. आप बेटर हिंदी कोर्सेज लीजिए, राइट. दिस इज वन मोर अपॉर्चुनिटी. एंड वन लास्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी आई विल टेल यू इज गेट हैंडबुक. And this handbook consisting of short notes, formulae, examples, and some of the interview questions also. It will be helpful for your engineering and for your placements, for your GATE. And this handbook is available in now Amazon, Flipkart, and Ace Publications website. That definitely will be helpful for you in your GATE preparation and competitive examinations. So better go for it if possible, right? And finally, I would like to say you only one thing: to win the race, you have to join the ACE. And finally, I can conclude the session with big thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask me. If no questions, we'll wind up the session. Just let me see any questions in the top chat. Okay. Concept through questions, MSQs. Okay. Right. Raj, hi sir, how to interpret and solve MSQs? That I told you now, just practice with sample data. You can easily solve, Raj. That's about Raj. And A.B. de Villiers, that's it. Okay, A.B. de Villiers, thank you very much. Thank you very much, A.B. Anything else? I think no one is there. No more questions. And thank you one and all. Thanks for listening this session. And hope this session is helpful for you. And good day, good luck, and tomorrow see you on the same time with important concepts in DBMS. Tomorrow we have a live session starting from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. We are going to discuss some of the important concepts in DBMS subject. Thank you, good day.